Welcome to this podcast. My name is Armin Beck. I will demonstrate you the next couple of minutes how to commission a netHOST device. There are some preconditions that have to be met to follow this video. The first thing you need is a powered Profibus netHOST device. To look to some I/O data, you need a Profibus DP slave as well, and a proper Ethernet connection between the netHOST and the PC. As software, you need Cycon.net and the netHOST test program. These are the software components we need. A netHOST comes without IP address. We have to set it with this IP config tool. Then we need Cycon.net and the netHOST test program. So let us start with the IP scanner tool. To search for connected Hilscher devices, press this button. Here you see that it has found my netHOST device, coming up with an IP address of all 0. So let me assign the netHOST device an IP address to be reachable. The IP address you enter here must of course fit to your local IP subnet. So press OK. The tool will do a rescan and see the IP address has been assigned. We don't need this IP scanner tool anymore, so we can close it. The next software that we have to use is Cycon.net configuration tool. The tool comes up with an empty project, and you see an empty bus line where we drag and drop our netHOST device to. To the right you find our device catalog. From there we drag and drop our netHOST device to the gray bus line. See here? Take it and place it. Since I selected a Profibus master netHOST device, there is another bus line. I have a test slave that I find in the catalog as well. It's a simple Hilscher slave with 16 bits input and output. If you don't find your device here, you can import GSD files with this option. Now let me add my slave. Here you are. A double click opens its configuration page. You see the name, you see the numbers of inputs and output bytes. OK. A right click to the netHOST device allows you to open some further dialogs. The first dialog that I'm using is the configuration dialog of the Ethernet settings. The default setting is DHCP. Since I have assigned my netHOST device an IP address already with the IP config tool, I have to enter the same IP address here. This IP address, by the way, is the one that it is stored permanently in netHOST. A correct subnet mask as well. Apply. So this setting has been done. As next, let us see what we can configure on the Profibus side. The first page that comes up is the bus parameter page. Here, for example, you can configure the baud rate. There are several other options. For example, here you can adjust the slave address of your slave. My slave has the address 2, so I keep it. One special setting is remarkable here. This parameter adjusts whether or not a netHOST device directly starts after power on or not. If you configure it like I do, the device will wait for the application program's permission to start. The last option that we use is the main settings dialog. First, we have to set up the driver to locate and find the device. We go to TCP connection. We add a new connection with a plus. We enter the correct IP address the driver shall look for the device and press save. Now we are able to make a proper device assignment. Scan again. Will take a while. And here you are. Here's my device. Cross-check here. Press apply. We are now connected to the device. With a netHOST device, the primary and secondary network are fixed set, so you can't change it. In the case there is a firmware update necessary with your netHOST device, you can do it with this button. Select the file and press download. Please do not forget here that a netHOST device comes preloaded with the firmware. Now all parameters are set, we can perform a download. Yes. They will run several progress bars until the device is finally loaded. Perfect. The device name is now green. That means that we are online. We can do some basic diagnostics. Just let us look what the Profibus site is doing. The LEDs are telling us that the Profibus is offline. Yeah, but this is intended. We configure the netHOST device not to start without the permission of the application program. So let us go back to offline mode and save the project. Cycon.net software is no longer needed, so we can close it. Now we can start the tests with the netHOST device. For that reason, start the netHOST test application program. As with Cycon.net software, the first thing we have to do is to set up the driver settings. This program takes over the Cycon.net configuration settings. So just verify if the IP address is correct here. Yes, okay. Now choose the option Open. During the open process, this program scans for netHOST devices and will offer them in a dialog. Here you are. It has found one single device with 3 channels. I have to remark here that a netHOST device comes always with 3 channels. Channel 0 is the one that is responsible for the Ethernet communication. Channel 1 is the one that is responsible for the Profibus communication. And channel 2 for management purposes. Since we want to test Profibus, I select channel 1 and open it. Remember that we have set the netHOST device not to start without the permission of the application. This is why I'm using the setBusState function first. So set bus state to on, timer, and shot. What I see now on my Profibus slave is that the red arrow LED is gone and netHOST device communicates to it. So the Profibus communication is running now and data is exchanged with the slave. So a refresh to the get bus state shows you that the bus is now on and running. Now let us look to the I/O monitor. The packet monitor is the one for acyclic services. The I/O monitor is divided into 2 sections. The right section is responsible for the outputs and the left section is responsible for the inputs. So let me look to the first 2 bytes in the netHOST input image. You see in hexadecimal values that there are some values set. If I turn my rotary switch, you see the inputs changing accordingly. As next, the outputs. The outputs are entered here. FF will do it. And the update button immediately sets the outputs to the netHOST output buffer. I see now all outputs being set on my slave. For test purposes, you can set the outputs to cyclic operation and auto increment. Now I'm seeing my outputs running on my slave. So this was all about how to configure and test a netHOST device. Thank you very much for listening.